Hi, this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to crochet the Whispering Arrows Shawl, which is a free pattern you'll find on mooglyblog.com. Please go to the link in the description where you will find both the right and left-handed video tutorials, a link to the written pattern, and links to all the supplies you need. To make this pattern, you'll need 1 cake of Red Heart It's a Wrap Rainbow, or you could use Red Heart It's a Wrap Sprinkles. Both work fine for this pattern. You'll also need a USF 3.75 millimeter crochet hook. This one happens to be by Clover. Now, as I mentioned, you can use Red Heart It's a Wrap Rainbow to make this pattern, and that's what I've used. Here is the Whisper colorway, which I used to make my version. You could also use It's a Wrap Sprinkles. You can see they're the same weight and the same fiber content and everything, just a matter of how they do the colorways. So whatever you like to use, you can use for this pattern. And again, you'll only need 1 cake. First, let's talk about how this shawl is constructed. It's made in the corner-to-corner style, which means you start down here at one point making 1 little block of crochet. Then the next row has 2 blocks, then 3 blocks, then 4 blocks, etc. So the number of the row is the same number of blocks you'll have across. We start here at the bottom of the shawl, here we can see in the purple, and work our way up, adding 1 block basically per row all the way up to the top of the shawl. You can see here, by just increasing, we create that great shawl shape. After we get to the top, there's a simple border across the top, and then a really lovely border along the sides to help show off this beautiful yarn. So you can see with 1 cake of yarn, we've worked through all those colors, and then our last color gives us our border all the way around. So let's look at how to make the Whispering Arrows shawl. Now, as I said, this shawl is made in the corner-to-corner method, and it's the double crochet method that you're probably familiar with if you've made anything with corner-to-corner stitching before. However, there are 2 different kinds of blocks here. Right here, the solid block is the usual corner-to-corner block that you're familiar with, the chain 3 and 3 double crochets in the chain 3 space. However, it also uses lace blocks, which you may have noticed before in some of my other patterns, where we chain 3, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet again to create a more open and lacy block. So when you follow this pattern, it's written the same way as a Grafgan or another corner-to-corner thing, but instead of listing the colors of each of those blocks like you would for a Grafgan, it lists the type of block. So remember, row 1 is going to be just 1 block, and it's going to be the lace block. Row 2 will have 2 lace blocks because corner-to-corner patterns increase by 1 block for every row. So we just work those lace blocks until we start putting in those solid blocks later in the pattern. Those solid blocks, which you can see a little bit easier here in this black and white photo, create great stripes within the pattern that you'll only see depending on the light and how you're wearing it. And that's part of the Whispering Arrows of this pattern. So let's go ahead and get started on these blocks together. Okay, if you haven't worked with Red Heart It's a Wrap Sprinkles or Rainbow before, then the first thing you'll notice is that it is actually made of 4 very thin strands of thread, essentially, that are all held together as 1 strand of yarn. So if you find a place where the strands have tried to come apart a little bit, you can sort of run your hands over those to straighten those back out, or if there's one that just seems to want to be in there, you can go ahead and crochet right over it. It sounds strange, but it really does work out, and this yarn creates such beautiful drape and lovely items. So to make this pattern, as I say, we're going to start with row 1 with a lace block. So we start with a slip knot on our hook, just as we would most crochet patterns, and then we're going to start by chaining 6. This is the usual standard start for double crochet corner-to-corner method, the corner-to-corner method. So I've got my 6 chains made. And then I'm going to double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. So I'm going to skip those 3 closest to the hook and double crochet in the chain after that. And I always like to work into that back hump of the chain, but you can work into whichever part of the chain you prefer. So there we have our first double crochet. Then it's a lace block. So we chain 1, skip the next chain there, and double crochet in the last chain, which was actually the first one we made. And with thread like this, real thin yarn, you just kind of need to take your time with it. There we are. And work off each of those stitches. There we are. So that is row 1. that is our lace block, and it is 1 block. That's kind of how we count these patterns in corner to corner. So for row 2, we're going to be making 2 blocks, sort of 1 on each side here of this square. So to begin our row 2, just like every other row, we'll start with a chain of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then same thing. I'm going to find that 4th chain from the hook right there, double crochet in that chain. And then if we look at our instructions, row 2 is 2 lace blocks. So we chain 1, skip the next chain there, double crochet in that first chain we made. There we are. And then what we need to do is find the chain 3 space of our first block there. So there it is right there. I had to flip it over a little bit, but you can see right there, that's those 3 chains that we skipped when we were making that first block. That's where we now insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, and make a slip stitch. We're not going to work back into that slip stitch. It can be nice and tight. Then we chain 3 again, 1, 2, 3, and then we work that block into that chain 3 space, not into the individual chains, right into the chain 3 space. So we double crochet, chain 1 because it's a lace block, and double crochet again, like so. So now that's row 2, and if you look at it, you can see we've got 1, 2 blocks, 2 of those little squares that we've made. So let's go ahead and make row 3 together. Row 3, if we go back to our pattern, is lace 3. So that means 3 lace blocks. So we start again just as we start every row, all the way through row 61 for this pattern. We chain 6. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we double crochet in that 4th chain from the hook. There we are. Then we chain 1 because it's a lace block, skip the next chain, double crochet in that first chain we made, right there. And then I always like to flip these sort of, trying to think what else you would flip this way, almost like you were flipping a cupboard up that opened upwards. We just flip our little blocks upwards like that, and then that chain 3 space is right there waiting for us. So we can just go right in there for our slip stitch, and time to start our second block. To start the second block, again, we chain 3, 1, 2, 3, then double crochet right in that chain 3 space, chain 1, and double crochet right back in that same chain 3 space. If you need to, you can kind of do it over to one side there so you don't catch that other block, and then I always like to give those double crochets a little tug to separate them a little bit. Then you come over here to this next chain 3 space in the next block, insert your hook there, and make a slip stitch. Then we've got one more block to go, so we chain 3 again, and double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet, all right in that final chain 3 space. So then, if we hold up our work, and get that little tail out of the way here, you can see now in our row 3, we've made 3 blocks. 1, 2, 3. If you're having trouble visualizing that, I always give those a little tug. You can see how we've kind of got 3 points there. 1, 2, 3. So third row, 3 blocks across. And again, these are all lace blocks. Now we just continue in pattern, how we start every row with our chain 6, turn, work back into those chains, and then work into those chain 3 spaces all the way across. That way you'll increase by 1 block every row. When we get to row 11, we're going to start interspersing those solid blocks that create that hidden pattern inside this shawl. So you can see, you just follow along making those blocks. And it really helps if you print out the pattern or purchase the PDF, which you see right here, so you can sort of cross those off as you go through them. Now, row 4, as you've just seen in the written pattern, is still 4 lace blocks. But I'm going to throw in a couple solid blocks here so you can see how those are made, because now you've seen really this is how the whole pattern works until it's time to finish it up. There is a final row and then a border that I'll show you after this. But let's go ahead and pretend we're far enough along that we're going to start throwing in some solid blocks. You'll never have a row that's all solid blocks. They're just interspersed in between the lace blocks to create the chevron pattern. So I've started again here, hopefully with 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. 6 chains there. So then I will find that 4th one from the hook, go in there for a double crochet, and I'm going to go ahead and do a lace block here. So I'll chain 1, skip the next double crochet, or excuse me, the next chain, double crochet in the last chain, and then again I'm just going to flip my work up so that then that chain 3 space is ready and waiting for my hook right there. So I joined to that block right there with a slip stitch. And then let's go ahead and work one of the solid blocks. It's going to pull up a little bit more of the yarn there. There we are. So to make the solid block, we chain 3, or if it was the first one, chain 6, wherever. And then back in that chain 3 space, we work 3 double crochets. So rather than double crochet, chain 1 double crochet, we just work 3 double crochets. And this creates a much more solid block, as you'll see here in just a moment. So there's those 3 double crochets. So I'll go ahead and chain 1 to connect to the next block there. And if I step back a little bit there, you can see there's the lacy open blocks and there's the solid blocks that helps create our design. And you can see here too, we've come to a part in this yarn where one of the strands wants to pull apart a little bit. But if I just run my hand down that strand towards the skein, it just disappeared. It went right back into the yarn and is nice and smooth again. I did manage to pick up a fuzzy on the way over here though. There we go. So now let's go ahead and make another one of those solid blocks together. We're going to chain 3 and then just work 3 double crochets right into that chain space. So that is the only difference between the lacy blocks and the solid blocks, which are distinguished as lace and solid in the pattern. It's just a matter of whether or not you've worked that center double crochet or if you chained 1 and skipped it. But other than that, this really is made in the standard corner to corner method, just with these 2 different kinds of blocks, all the way until you get up to the size of that you want for your shawl. Now I wrote this through, I'm going to go ahead and do a lace block here since it's our last one. I wrote this to go through 61 rows. If you wanted to continue in pattern after that, you absolutely could, but then you would need to purchase a second skein or cake of the yarn. So let's go ahead and say we've made our big shawl now and are ready to start finishing it off. So if we go through the pattern here, you can see here are the pages of the PDF, and we go all the way through row 61 with the lace and solid blocks. And then we come here to the last page. And here too in black and white, it's a little easier to see that hidden chevron pattern that we're creating with those solid blocks as opposed to the lace blocks. But up here, row 62 is where we are going to be working right across this top row again, but we're going to basically be evening it out. And I know this looks like a whole lot, but once we make it here, I think it'll make a lot of sense. Basically, what we want to do in this row is create a nice straight line so that we don't have these pointy bits anymore. We want a nice straight top to our shawl. So to begin, we're going to start by chaining 4. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Already a little different, right? Then we're going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So not the one right next to the hook, but we come down to that second one. Go ahead and get our hook in there under all those little bits. All right. And there is our single crochet. Then we are going to chain 1, skip the next chain, and double crochet in the chain after that. So a block that's like the lace block, but it starts off short with a single crochet. Then we'll go ahead and flip our blocks up here just as we would before. So then what we're going to do is the section between the asterisks. And the section between the asterisks is the finishing block, if you will, that we make anytime we're working into a lace block. So to make that one, like I say, we got a slip stitch there into that next block. And then we simply chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, and double crochet in the chain 3 space. So let me get that double crochet worked off here and pull up a little more yarn. And if I pull that double crochet down there, you can see We're now creating a really straight line because we've just got those single crochets rather than working up into double crochets to create the points, but we've still got that lace look. Now, when we come to a solid block in the pattern, that's where we work sort of the solid finishing version. We chain one, single crochet, and then half double crochet, and then double crochet, all in that chain 3 space. So before, in the lace finishing block, basically you're chaining one and skipping the half double crochet. In the solid version, you single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet. Let me pull that out a little bit there. So you can see, again, that just creates the fill-in that matches those solid blocks a little bit. Then, of course, we just slip stitch to the next chain 3 space and follow the instructions again. So basically, these repeats depend on the width of those rows. You're just capping off those rows with the blocks that match so that those stripes go all the way up to the top. So let's go ahead and do another one of those solid blocks together here, solid finishing blocks. We chain one, single crochet, and then half double crochet, and then double crochet, all in that chain 3 space. Get that other block out of the way there. There we are. Then we've got our last one here, so we're going to go ahead and slip stitch in that chain 3 space, and let's do one more of those lace block finishers. We chain one, single crochet, chain one, double crochet. And that is essentially how row 62 works. So you just need to follow that up across. Again, it helps to just sort of check those off. But the section between the asterisks are the lacy ones, and the section between the carrots, which is that little symbol right there, that is the solid blocks. So you can also just follow the lines in your pattern as you're crocheting it, or you can follow along with the written pattern to see which sort of block you need to make at which point of the pattern. After you've worked row 62, as you can see, that creates the really great straight line across the top of our shawl. So then it's ready for border round 1. At the end of round 62, or rather row 62, we're going to go ahead and turn. And then the next 2 rounds are worked in the round all the way around the shawl. Okay, so to begin the border round 1, I'm going to chain 1, and then we're going to work right back across the top of our shawl here, and we're going to work a single crochet in each stitch and 2 single crochets in each chain space. So you can see right there was that last stitch I made. Then we've got a chain space, so I will work 2 single crochets in there, 1 and 2, and then single crochet in that next stitch. Now, for working into every stitch, we do not work into the slip stitches. So we single crochet in each stitch and 2 single crochets in each chain space, but do not work into those slip stitches. Just want to go ahead and work right into those stitches and chain spaces. So we just work our way across here for a solid row of single crochet all the way across until you get to that first corner. So I'll see you when we get to that first corner. Okay, so I've worked the first section of border round 1, working all the way across the top of the shawl. When we get to this first corner, we need to work 2 more single crochets in the last stitch of the row. So go ahead and put 2 more single crochets in there, and that will help us round the corner so we can start working down along the side of our shawl. Then what we're going to do is work a half double crochet, half double crochet in the side of each block to the corner. So you really want to take a look at your stitches here for a moment. You can see here, if we look at it this way, we were crocheting this way, but now we're going to turn and really look at just the side here. You can see this block is facing this way. We've worked into that chain 3 space. So we've got a block here, a block here, a block here, a block here, and a block here. So you'll want to look for, you can got a double crochet here, you've got the chain 6 bit here, you've got a double crochet here, a chain 6 bit here. So you can use those to help you find each of those blocks as you work down the side. So then in terms of how to work into the side, I like to just go ahead and go right on around the double crochet or the chain 6 as I come to it. I don't try and work into those individual stitches. I just go ahead and make a really nice solid border here, working right around the entirety of the post of the stitch. So just continue to work down the side of your shawl with a half double crochet, half double crochet in the side of each block. And we'll keep doing that until we get all the way down to the point, that very first corner of the very first block that we made. When you get to the ones, by the way here, I should say, when you get to the ones with the chain 6 space, you can go ahead and sort of distribute those stitches however you like. I'll often put the half double crochet, say, right here in between the double crochet and the chain 3, and then the double crochet and the half double crochet on the other side of it there. Oop, I need to straighten out that yarn just a little bit more. See right here, we've got one of those loops that wants to stay right there. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to go ahead and crochet right over it, using it as part of the rest of the yarn. I have done this now for several shawls and projects, and I haven't had any problems with it. If this wants to pop up again, we can just kind of tack it down inside our stitches. So I'll go ahead and make the next couple ones here. I was gonna meet you at the corner, but let's go ahead and make these together now so you can see how I go ahead and take care of this. So we've got our next block here. This thing wants to be kind of fiddly, so I'm just gonna lay it down over here and crochet right over it. So I'm just gonna put that loop right over the side there and crochet over it just as if it was an end. So there's my half double crochet. Let's do the double crochet. Oop. The yarn wants to split on you a little bit. That's okay. Just take it off and do it again. So there is the double crochet. And then let's do the half double crochet. I'm just going to keep pushing that down to crochet right over it. And then you can see right here, there's just that little bit of a loop left. So I'm going to start the half double crochet in the side of this last block, but this time I'm going to send my hook right through that loop. If I can just get it on my hook, there we are. So you can see I've gone into that chain space there basically, but I've also gone into that loop. And now when I pull up this loop and make that half double crochet, that end will be tucked up in there and it's not going to go anywhere. I could go ahead and crochet over that some more if it bothers me, or I can just let that hang out there, whatever you like to do. We are almost right here on our last block though, so let's go ahead and finish that together. We've got a double crochet, followed by a half double crochet, and now we're down at that corner. So when we get to that corner, what we want to do is do the same thing, half double crochet, half double crochet, but all right into that point. So basically it's going to be like that first, the bottom of that very first chain 6, essentially. So we want to put our hook right in there, right basically at that knot, and work a half double crochet, and half double crochet again. Once you get that first one in there, it really opens up the stitch and makes it a lot easier to get in there. So you can see now, if I pull that hook out of the way, hopefully, you can see I've worked that right into that point. If I pull that tail out of there, a little bit easier to see yet. So then we're ready to turn and do the same thing, working up the other side of the shawl. So I'll get my yarn straightened out here on the hook. There we are. And then we just, as I say, turn, hold that tail out of the way. Now we're on the other side of that same first, I should say, block, but we just work our way right on up. So there's a half double crochet, double crochet, and half double crochet right in that side of the block. And then we can come to the second one and then third on all the way up till we get up to the top, where we can add a couple more single crochets there and join to finish it off. So now that I've dropped it, let me get it straightened out and I'll see you when we get back up to that other corner. Okay, so as you can see, I've done the half double crochet, half double crochet in the side of each block right till we get back up to right where we began. So to finish it off, we're just going to go ahead and put 2 single crochets right in that same stitch as our first single crochet that started our round. So remember, we had 3 single crochets in that last stitch there on the other side. So we want to finish off by mimicking that on this side. After that, we can simply slip stitch to that very first single crochet we made, and we're ready for border round number 2. Border round 2 starts out pretty simply. We chain 1 and single crochet in each stitch, until we get back to that first corner. So go ahead and just single crochet in each single crochet until you get to the opposite corner there of your shawl. Okay, so I've single crocheted in each single crochet stitch across, and now we're back at that half double crochet, half double crochet in each of the sides of these blocks. What we're going to do as we work our way down the side is chain 1, skip the half double crochet, and then work half double crochet, half double crochet just in the double crochet stitch. So Remember before we had those 3 stitches? Now we just want to skip the double crochet, and in the top of the double crochet, we work our half double crochet, and half double crochet again. There we go. Get all that yarn. Then we chain 1, skip those next 2 half double crochets, and come to the next double crochet. Do the same thing again. Half double crochet, double crochet, and half double crochet, all in the double crochet stitch. Chain 1 again, skip those half double crochets right there, find the next double crochet stitch, and do it again. And that's how we work all the way down until we get to that point at the bottom of our shawl. So I will see you, oops, that double crochet really wanted to be a half double crochet, but I will see you as soon as we get down to that point. Now I've worked down this side, and you can see with those chain 1s in between and skipping the half double crochets, we've created a really pretty lacy edge. So when you get down to the point, basically, then we've got the half double crochet, half double crochet that we worked right in that end point there. So once we are there, what we're going to do is we are going to half double crochet in that double crochet. We're going to skip that half double crochet, of course. Then we are going to work 3 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And then finally another half double crochet, all right in the double crochet at the point, like so. So you can see, get my hook out of the way here. What we've been doing sort of the little version of right here, we've got a bigger one with 3 double crochets in the middle, but we've still got our chain 1 space there on either side. And then we're ready to start working up the other side. Find that double crochet stitch and go right in there for your half double crochet, and half double crochet again. And then of course, chain 1 and jump on over to the next double crochet. Continue to work on up the side until we get right to the top, and I'll see you there. Now, as you can see, I've worked all the way up the second side, and there I've worked into that double crochet in the side of that last block. So we're going to skip that last half double crochet, and then remember there are just those 2 single crochets left that we added at the end of our border round 1. So we want to go ahead and work a single crochet in each of those, and then we can break our yarn and join to that first stitch, or go ahead and join with a slip stitch and then break your yarn, however you like to do it. And then of course you can weave in your ends, and you've got your finished shawl. Now, when you do block your shawl, and I do recommend that you block this pattern, what I recommend is that you go ahead and get it nice and wet, lay it out flat on your blocking board, and then you'll want to use your pins to basically emphasize those double crochet stitches right along border round 2. Let me pull up the finished shawl so we can take another look at that border. Here you can see the border on the finished shawl. There's border round 1, and there is border round 2, worked just into those double crochet stitches. And indeed, right there at the corner, at the point rather, you can see those 3 double crochet stitches worked in there. So as I say, when you block it, I recommend that you take your blocking pins and just put one right in that each double crochet and give it just a little pull out. And that will really help emphasize that double crochet and add to that lacy scalloped look right along the edge here. And that's how to crochet the Whispering Arrows shawl, which you'll find on mooglyblog.com. This pattern calls for just 1 cake of It's a Wrap rainbow and a USF 3.75mm crochet hook. So I hope you'll give it a try, and thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.